Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Jose.
Well, good afternoon also from my side to everybody here.
Good afternoon. We are very happy to be here in the online edition of this year's European Youth Event. We are going to be talking a bit about a fascinating topic, which is, well, basically two topics together, the Erasmus Plus program and the role of active citizenship in the program. So how we can use the European Union's flagship initiative, the Erasmus program, to contribute to improving active citizenship across our union. For that, we are going to make a couple of exercises, and we're also going to have a small presentation, but we want this to be very interactive. So please, we look forward to all your comments and questions in the chat, also through the Slido that we'll start now, and to any feedback that you can get, because this session will be a very useful way for us to get a lot of ideas that we can then use to improve Erasmus all over Europe. So now we're going to start with our Slido questions. We have prepared a couple of Slido questions for you. We have a small test, and then we have some brainstorming questions in which we're going to get all your ideas. So please join. You can follow the Slido link, and you can join. Also, please, you can share your comments through the chat. And the first question relates to the number of participants in the Erasmus Plus program. So the Erasmus program started for the very first time in 1987, so almost 35 years ago, and we have had a lot of Europeans participating, but we want to know how many actually. So please join the Slido and tell us, or you can also reply in the comments. Do you know this one, Jose? I think you know the answer?
Well, I'm actually not thinking about it. I know that the goal is around 10 million, but I don't know how many people actually participated so far.
Okay. At the moment, people agree with you, Jose, actually. They believe that it's 35 million. Okay, it looks like more than 8.5 million. It's a difficult question, actually, because we all know that Erasmus is very popular, but many times we do not know exactly how many people, Europeans and non-Europeans, have benefited from Erasmus. So let's see what people think. Okay.
I mean, I don't know if this is. I don't know if this is
for sure.
It is.
What I can say is that the new Erasmus Plus program that is starting now plans to have a huge number of participants, which aims to be very similar to the number of participants that we have had till now. So let's wait for some more answers. 8.5, the majority of the people is saying 8.5. 2 more minutes, and then we will select the winner. The worst part is that I'm sure that my friend Jose doesn't know the answer. Okay.
I don't know. Personally, I would go with more than 10 million.
Okay. So I think that Slido is not offering the right answer, but the right answer is actually 10 million participants. So till now, in 34 years, Erasmus has had a bit more than 10 million participants, and now in the next 7 years, we plan to have another 10 million participants. So the ambition is now as high as it has been in the last 30 years. So that's very good. Congratulations to everybody who said the right number. Okay, so now we have more of a brainstorming question. So for the Erasmus Student Network, making sure that the Erasmus program is an activator of active citizenship is a huge priority. It's also a big priority for the program, but we want to know from you, how does mobility contribute to active citizenship? How we can make sure that exchange experiences can contribute to make more active citizens that are engaged with their communities, with global affairs, that aim to contribute to their societies, etc. So please, we are very much looking forward to all your answers on this topic. And of course, You can also think in a positive way, right? Maybe it's something that is not happening that much at the moment, but that you would like to see in the next few years. And I think that Chloe, Mateo, and Tamara are saying hi from the chat. So hi, everybody. By the way, I forgot to say that I'm speaking from Brussels at the moment. And Jose, my friend, where are you speaking from?
I'm now in Vienna, in a very cloudy Vienna right now.
Okay, fantastic. Very good. Beautiful Vienna. So what people are saying is that mobility helps to understand the culture of other European people, to build international networks of like-minded people, which are very valid answers indeed. And let's see if we get some more answers, and then we can connect these ones with some of our ideas. Understanding and dealing with cultural differences broaden our horizons and makes us more conscious about social problems, which is also a very good answer, by the way. Very good. I see that people have similar ideas. People become aware of their action in a positive way. Very, very good. Let's wait for a couple more ideas. So a very interesting thing as well regarding the perspectives that you gain when you go on mobility. People see new ideas and approaches that they would like to see in their countries. So you go somewhere, you identify certain things that can be connected to sustainability, equality, etc. And then you think, okay, we can also do this in my country, right? Very good. So I think we have very good answers here. And hi to Tommaso, who is also saying hi now. Very good. So now the last question of this round. The term Erasmus generation is becoming more and more popular, but sometimes it can be a bit difficult to define this topic. So the question for you now is, how do we actually define the term Erasmus generation? What is the Erasmus generation? So the Erasmus generation is borderless. The Erasmus generation is young and dynamic. The Erasmus generation is, I like these two definitions, by the way.
I like the borderless one.
Yes,
it's
definitely.
Actually a very, very interesting term.
Definitely. But this concept, which started some years ago, which youth organizations like the Erasmus Student Network, but also many others started to use, has become a commonplace in the European sphere. Nowadays, everybody knows the Erasmus generation, everybody speaks about the Erasmus generation. The Erasmus generation is truly European, it's a generation open to change, cultural differences, and always available to leave their comfort zone for a new experience. It's curious, so the Erasmus generation is about curiosity, it's about young, open-minded, creative, educated people. Very good. I think we're managing to draft a very good definition here. Open is indeed scared by climate change, and we know this from all the data that we have, also from our own surveys, that today's youth, and more specifically Erasmus participants, are very much aware about the huge risks to humanity that climate change poses, tolerant, and indeed, unfortunately, also poor. And that's why also ensuring proper grants to Erasmus students, a proper support to European Youth Study Program. Flexible, aware of what's happening in the world, open-minded, and tolerant. A generation of young people who want to make a change. So we have a lot of definitions, and the important thing that we need to understand here is that when we talk about the Erasmus generation, we are not only referring specifically to concrete participants of the Erasmus Plus program. We're talking about a generation of Europeans, but also world citizens that honestly do not believe in borders, that, as this comment is saying, it's always ready to learn more, but is also committed to tackle societal challenges. And we identify this generation as a very fluid group, indeed. Many people who identify with the values of the Erasmus program, who identify with a borderless Europe, can feel part of this generation because they are. So we would like you to think about this fluid concept of Erasmus generation. It's a mobilizing concept. That's how we see it in ESN, as a way to bring people together and to understand everything that we have in common. So very good. Thank you so much for all your answers. Now we are going to start with a small presentation to talk a bit about this idea of making the Erasmus generation an incubator of active citizenship. As we said before, congratulations again to everybody who was right. Erasmus has had 10 million participants. 10 million participants, it's a lot of people if you look at it in a way, but it's also a limited number somehow, right? Considering that We used to have almost 500 million people in Europe, in the European Union. Now, after the UK left, it's a bit less, it's around 450. 10 million might seem like a relative modest number, but these 10 million people have made a huge impact on society. The program has been bringing Europeans together since 1987. And here you can see the process of Erasmus. In red, you can see the countries that started the Erasmus program that gradually has been expanded. And the interesting thing about this, and probably many of you already know about this idea, is that nowadays Erasmus is truly global. It's a public diplomacy tool of the European Union. Erasmus helps to bring people together all over the world, not only in Europe. In 2018, 153 partner countries worldwide took part in mobility and cooperation projects. So through Erasmus, we are also working to create connections with young people, with institutions, with universities from all over the world. And this is something that we need to keep in mind when we think about the potential of the Erasmus program and about how the Erasmus program can help to tackle many of the challenges that we face as a union, as a society in general. The very clear idea for us for the Erasmus Student Network is that 10 million out of 450 million is not enough. For that, we need to do two things. First, we need to increase the number of people participating in Erasmus and in general in all kinds of mobility programs that allow young people and people in general from across our continent to meet each other, to discuss, to exchange ideas, to compare the ways in which they live their lives, and also to identify things that they see in other countries that they would like to bring to their countries, to develop this idea of a European identity that goes beyond borders. For that, the active citizen component of the program is extremely important. So Erasmus should not be only about traveling to another country and living in another country. It should be about creating connections, helping your new community, understanding what the challenges of this new community are, and all the related things that allow the program to become a real multiplier. It's not only about the participants themselves, it's really about using the program to spread the ideas and values that make it so unique. And it's quite clear that this is an objective of the program. If we go to the documents of the Erasmus program, we see that the European Commission really believes that this can be done. What we believe in ESN is that this idea of non-formal learning activities is extremely important in youth projects like the European Solidarity Corps or youth exchanges, but it should become also a very important feature of all kinds of mobilities. Also university mobilities, the one that most of you probably already know, and probably also the ones in which many of you have participated. So we need to bring that non-formal component, that idea of collaborating, volunteering in communities, also to higher education, also to vocational education and training, and to all the sectors of the program. So basically, what we believe, and this is the key underlying idea of this session, is that we need to make the interaction with local communities and EU challenges, so combining both things, societal challenges that affect the whole European Union and local challenges, local problems that students can help to tackle, to all actions, to all components of the Erasmus Plus program. And for that, we believe that all Erasmus mobilities should include different dimensions. And this is what we're trying to do at the Erasmus Student Network, the key international student organization helping to implement the Erasmus Plus program and helping to support students across our continent. The first one is to use the Erasmus program to foster dialogue between students and decision makers and this connection with your priorities. Really use mobilities to connect students with topics like climate change. You can see here in the picture a group of Erasmus students during the last COP26, and to make these dialogues, these interactions, a central part of the Erasmus experience. The reason why this is so important is that Erasmus provides a unique European public sphere. In Erasmus, we have students from all over Europe and all over the world getting to know each other, seeing each other on a daily basis, and having the spaces to have real dialogues about the common problems that we face as a society. So many times, this European public sphere that we have in Erasmus is there, but we do not fully utilize the potential that it has. So we believe that whenever we think about Erasmus, we should start considering this more and more and use these spaces in a more proactive way to include activities to foster and follow up about these dialogues, especially with processes like the current conference on the future of Europe. And then the second part of the Erasmus experience that should become a central part of the student journey is the interaction with local communities through volunteering. So what we need to do here is to make sure that a vast majority, if not all the students who participate in any kind of Erasmus mobility have this direct interaction with their hosting community through volunteering, through engaging activities in a way in which the communities can also benefit from the fact that they are having this mobility experience. In ESN, we are developing a number of programs to make this a reality. The most famous one is Erasmus in schools, and this is the activity that you can see in the picture. The idea of bringing Erasmus students from all over Europe to the classroom, so they can have intercultural dialogues with local pupils and discuss how different people live their lives across our continent and across our world. Also, after our experience trying to engage the Erasmus generation with European topics, what we see is that when we use the right tools and when we bring all the stakeholders together, it actually works very well. The best example we had about this was the This Time I'm Voting campaign, which you all know. With the This Time I'm Voting campaign, we had a huge mobilization of the Erasmus generation that actually made the Erasmus Student Network one of the organizations that managed to get more people into the platform, that managed to connect more young people all over Europe with the This Time I'm Voting campaign. So we learned a lot of lessons. We learned a lot of lessons on the importance of fostering this collaboration between institutions and institutional stakeholders in general and grassroots organizations that spend their day-to-day activities with young people and with the students. And this is something that we need to keep in mind going forward, that with the Erasmus generation, we have this huge potential, we have this huge group of people that can act as multipliers. They can participate in these kind of campaigns, but more importantly, they can bring their friends, they can engage their communities, both in their hosting destinations, but also back home. And in general, they can have a huge multiplier impact that goes beyond only the individuals. And then also, when we talk about the volunteering dimension of Erasmus, as you know, volunteering during Erasmus sounds very, very good. But then you need to do your learning agreement, you need to attend a lot of classes, and it can be a huge challenge. That's why Erasmus Student Network proposed a couple of years ago a set of recommendations that came from the SocialErasmus Plus project. And what we studied there was how we can integrate volunteering activities in the Erasmus curricula, in the learning agreement of the students, how we can support higher education institutions so they offer these opportunities to the students, so we can gradually move towards this idea of having all the Erasmus students across Europe volunteering during their exchange experiences. We managed to get to very interesting conclusions. We see that there are many barriers in order to do this, but that is doable. There are many universities across Europe that are already doing this. So this is something that you can keep in the back of your mind, that you can discuss also with your universities if you're a student, with the people you know who is in university. Is your university allowing students to participate in volunteering activities during their mobilities? Which kind of changes are needed? But of course, as organizations like ESN, and in general, any kind of grassroots organizations, can only do so much if we do not achieve policy changes. So in this journey towards making Erasmus this huge incubator of active citizenship, there are many policy changes that we need to achieve. The great news is that we have already achieved a lot of things, and we can see how these changes that we have achieved can make a difference. in the new Erasmus Plus program that will start now, starting now in 2021 and will last till 2027, there are many new things that make this idea of the civic engagement, of the social dimension of Erasmus Plus more tangible. When universities want to participate in Erasmus, they all need to sign up for the Erasmus Charter of Higher Education, a document that accreditates, that proves that they respect a number of commitments and therefore they are eligible to receive Erasmus funding from the European Union. And now, in the new program, 2021-2027, when universities sign up for this document, they are all committing to foster civic engagement among their students, among future Erasmus students, current Erasmus students, and also Erasmus alumni. So this is a big change. Now, of course, implementation remains the challenge. Of course, this is not only about universities. When students go abroad, they all receive the Erasmus Student Charter. And also in the charter, there is a mention that encourages students to participate in this kind of volunteering activities, that actively tells a student, when you go abroad, you should look for opportunities to volunteer, you should look for opportunities to engage with your hosting community to make an impact. And also, we now have an alumni strategy in the legal text. So now, in the next few years, the stakeholders, the European Commission will have to develop an alumni strategy to make sure that the Erasmus experience doesn't end when your mobility ends, that you continue to be that engaged citizen that people were describing before in the comments about the Erasmus generation. So when it comes to making Erasmus this big incubator of active citizenship, we have come a long way. We have achieved many things, but there are still many challenges ahead. We would love to hear other ideas, other suggestions from you. And now we're also going to discuss some findings that we have seen in many of our research. But the message that I want to convey now is that we need higher education institutions, we need national authorities to help European stakeholders, to help European institutions, to make sure that the impact of our most famous program continues to increase. And now I move to my colleague, Jose, who will also have some questions, I think, in Slido. So we'll engage a bit in a discussion again. Down to you, Jose. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I guess these insights, into the whole Erasmus generation concept and how it all plays together, I think it's also very interesting to see, well, what is actually the Erasmus generation thinking about, right? How's their engagement after their mobility abroad, after all these experiences they're actually gaining throughout their exchange program. So I want to share also my screen now. I already see that we have the Slido code, which is amazing. Wait a moment. So it's a short Slido with also some questions regarding, the ESNsurvey and, how we can actually work with this. I hope you can all see my screen now. Yes, it's possible. So the question mostly is, which concrete measures, now that you have been listening to all of the aspects that actually include Erasmus, should Erasmus also include now to foster active citizenship? What do you think is actually necessary now in the new Erasmus program? Well, what do you expect from your exchange program to include in order for you to be more engaged, right? To, participate democratically in the elections in your country, to participate in the European elections, as we were seeing in the This Time I'm Voting campaign, or even just to engage, in civil society organizations, such as ESN, for example. Maybe you can come up with certain ideas, certain concrete measures. And maybe Juan, you can also tell us if there is some ideas that you would have in this case.
In the meantime, we have a couple of things from the audience that I will also read, Jose, till we wait for people to share their ideas. So Dragana says that she has participated in Erasmus, both as a volunteer and a seminar coordinator, and she has benefited immensely by getting unique type of skills and a priceless experience. And it also gave her the possibility to understand another educational system and a global understanding of mobility. So this will help to improve the world. And also Julia is asking about group activities. She asked, group activities and Erasmus events were limited throughout the pandemic. Does ESN have a plan or alternative way of creating a traditional Erasmus experience in light of the pandemic? So this is a very good question. And yeah, what we are trying to do is to make sure that our sections continue to organize activities, always respecting the regulations. But we believe that whenever it is possible, it is fundamental to continue organizing activities, precisely because what we are saying, activities with students and local communities are the best way to improve the Erasmus experience and to improve the multiplier effect. But it's happening already. So I'm very happy to tell you that activities with Erasmus students are already happening across the continent. You can also, of course, check our social media channels of our national organizations and local sections to check some of the activities. But we do have a lot of activities this semester, and we're extremely happy to see them happening again. And also, just for you to know, the numbers of Erasmus students are gradually going back to pre-pandemic normality. So we are seeing from our own channels, from our own platforms, that we have a huge number of students already going back to mobility.
That's very true. I mean, I'm really happy that we finally have some physical events again. And well,
Exactly.
now we have this online option open to the next one. So now that we got some answers here, well, I like the one with that it says network options, volunteering, follow up. You know, as soon as you come back, what are you doing with all these experiences? What are you actually bringing to the societies, right? And this is something that we have been analyzing also with the ESNsurvey. What are people expecting also after their semester abroad? More workshops, I like that one. More knowledge that can be generated from it, right? Different experiences can gain more knowledge at the end. So I think I will then continue with another question. Let me show a moment. So the next one would be, do Erasmus students vote more or less than average in European Parliament elections? This is a question related directly to, well, what is the engagement after the Erasmus experience? What do you think is the option? From 1 to 10, what do you think would be actually the score for this one? You know, after hearing, well, you spend your time somewhere else, you actually, well, learn to know new things, learn to know different structures, as Dragana was saying. You actually get to learn new skills, right? Possibility to understand other educational systems. Then you can make actually comparisons, and you can therefore definitely, well, start thinking about what is actually the future gonna bring to us, right? All right, we have people thinking that more people actually vote in the AP elections. We have some others thinking that less people actually vote in average. Well, we will definitely clarify this during the presentation that I prepared already. So if some other answers are coming, if you have any other questions, again, you can also write them, you know, in the chats. We will definitely be looking at having a look at them, trying to answer them as good as possible, so we can also give some assertive and conclusive answers here. All right, I can see, well, most of the people actually agree that more people actually vote in average. And it's actually very true. It's actually very true. As soon as you start understanding how Europe works, how other countries actually have adapted to this, as people say, European project, actually more people start voting and expressing their opinions even more. And I think this is a very essential component of this whole Erasmus experience, as Juan was saying. As soon as you go back to your home, you won't be the same person. And as soon as you have experienced that, you will definitely reshape and restructure your thoughts about it. So let me continue with the other question, which is, are you going to vote in the next elections? Talking, of course, being either your national elections, your European Parliament elections. I want to see what's your understanding about it. The questions were definitely going into one direction, because this is what we're trying to foster in ESN, right? We're trying to foster active citizenship. We're trying to foster democratic participation. And we think it's necessary that people actually participate and express their opinions, be it through different channels, be it through political participation, be it through volunteering. We think it's necessary and it's essential to continue with everything that we have tried to build up for the last years, right? Oh, I see everybody's agreeing. I like the answers to this one.
This one was very easy. This is very popular.
I like this. I like this. Also, hello to Ruben and Dominic, who actually send their greetings. Greetings to you too. Hopefully, you will enjoy this event, which is definitely going to be a blast. And we will try to make it as well. It's interactive and as informative as possible. So, thank you to everybody that participated here. I will stop now the Slido, and I will continue also now with my presentation, which is going to be mostly about the Erasmus Student Network being presenting the ESNsurvey 2019. Give me a quick moment. I have to change a few settings here. So this goes here. And I will be presenting now. So can everybody see the presentation? Yes, the presentation is there. So the ESNsurvey 2019, it was basically before, it was before the European elections back then in 2019, before May 2019. We actually expanded this survey throughout all the network, 42 countries, where most of them were actually working with the European elections, meaning the European Union. But we also wanted to know the opinion of everybody involved in the Erasmus Plus program, right? Meaning also outside of the European Union borders. In this sense, we wanted to know, active citizenship and student exchange in light of the European Union. How do these two terminologies actually correlate with each other? How has one an effect on the other one? And let me present you first of all some of the frame that we actually work with. It was basically a Europe-wide research, as I was already telling, concerning student mobility and higher education. Since 2005, we have been actually working on 13 editions, so more than 15 years already. All throughout these 15 years, we have gained more than 170,000 responses, which is actually for a student organization, a student-led organization, a volunteer organization, quite a high number. On an average, we had around 14 responses per year. And as already mentioned, this is actually one of the biggest projects we have when it comes to this kind of service and when it comes to this research topic within our organization and related to, mobility programs and higher education. In this case, we're actually, trying to assess the Eurobarometer studies, seeing, what's the sentiment around all these topics related to the European Parliament elections, also the Erasmus Voting Assessment, seeing, how is actually everybody related to the Erasmus program kind of focusing on the voting schemes, and the Erasmus impact studies, how is actually Erasmus impacting directly the individuals we're working with within our organizations as the Erasmus Student Network. We're not only working with international students, but also local students, which already amplifies the scope of these research studies that we gained here. This is just, so that you have an overview. I was telling already, outside of the European Union borders, we actually work with all of the people that are coming to our universities in Europe, which is basically the whole world. As you can see, the darker marked ones are the countries where we got responses. The light ones are the ones we didn't get anyone. But still, you can see here, we're trying to bring this Erasmus generation throughout the globe, which is necessary also to gain their feedback and see how we can improve these mobility schemes. Most of the answers came from Italy, which is basically one of the countries that sends the most students around Europe. Also Germany and Spain. These are three countries that are very relevant when it comes to this Erasmus program. And all the other countries, of course, participated and contributed so that we could gain as much knowledge as possible from these questions that we gained here. Also some side facts. You can actually see which fields of studies people had when they were answering. Most of the people, actually related to international business mindset. These are also the ones going mostly on abroad on this Erasmus program. Here you can see also just an overview. Others, this is related probably to some studies that couldn't be assessed directly through this survey. Now, after all these answers that we got here, we also had some key findings, right? What are we going to do with this knowledge? Now we have to start reshaping the data that we had. And one of them, I can see that sadly let's not worry about it. Every 14 respondents do not know what civil participation is. Meaning a lot of people actually that were part of the mobility program, they actually don't know what it means to be engaged in a civil society organization. They don't know what it means, which rights and duties they have in this case. And I think it's also very necessary to start focusing our programs and our core actions as ESN to bring across this terminology to them. As you can see here, around more than 8,000 people were actually answering they don't know about this terminology. And I hope, and we saw this in the questions, that many people that are here in the stream actually know about it and want to contribute to this. Another key finding is that online participation is more prevalent among young people. Actually, we're living now in a very digitized era, as we could see, now making some allusion to what happened yesterday, certain platforms were down, right? So the communication is still happening between young people directly through digital channels. How are our institutions preparing now, the online participation, the democratic participation? How are we actually engaging young people to be more active, to be active citizens, right? This is one of the key findings we had there. As you can see here, some people were actually signing petitions, be it on paper or online, so male, female. We actually try to assess also this. Express your views in public issues on the internet or in social media. Now that we're talking about, again, public opinions, we have many channels now, as for example, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. People nowadays are looking for other options than the conventional ones, and young people even more. Now we have to also work with this. These are some key answers to start focusing on digitizing Erasmus, digitizing the information flow, digitizing many aspects that we haven't been considering so far. Students do not only feel very informed about the work of civil society organizations on the European level. Now, civil society organizations such as ESN, for example, were working directly with students. Now, did everybody here in the stream know about it? This is actually some work that the institutions should be focusing on bringing across how we can cooperate together, how we can bring this visibility in the future aspect of the Erasmus program. So you can see here the level of information. People actually are not informed. The percentage of people not being involved in this sphere that we call the civil society, as we call the European Union, as we call it sometimes the EU bubble. People outside of it, they have no tendencies to actually start looking for it. So we have to start spreading the word about it. Now, students with an exchange experience are far more engaged in civil society organizations than the average European youth. I guess most of the people here, most of the young people, as soon as they come back to their countries, they're looking for this, this, let's call it this spiciness of being abroad, of staying in touch with other people. And I guess this is something very relevant. Such an organization is ESN, right? As soon as you go back, you are an Erasmus alumni, you can join ESN, right? And I think this is something very valuable also to assess and bring across every level. People want to stay engaged, people want to express their opinions. So you can see here, cultural organizations are one of the most asked ones. People actually, we were comparing the data we gained from the ESNsurvey with the Eurobarometer 455 and seeing what are the organizations people are mostly interested in. Cultural organizations, sports club are one of them, the biggest ones, youth club, leisure time club, or any youth organization. Again, we can see actually how people are asking after their experience abroad about these organizations. Some actually were answering also. I didn't want to go into the key findings. I just want to show the graph about it. How are they actually, where are they actually answering these questions from? Some of them participated already. So most of the respondents were people that already gained the experience abroad. Some other ones were currently studying abroad, and some other ones never went on exchange, which is also a very high percentage we should be also focusing on here. Now, 30% of respondents feel very or quite informed about the European Parliament's work. Talking about the elections about the European Parliament, now we see only 30% actually feel informed about what's happening on the European level. Now, this is something where civil society organizations can actually start focusing on and start being this, start disseminating, start spreading the information, as Juan was saying, start spreading the information about what's happening on a different scale and see how we can start engaging more people in what's actually going to affect them in near future, meaning about the, most of the elections going nowadays. As you can see here, more or less informed is slightly above 30%. It's not even half of the people feeling informed about it. Not informed at all, quite informed. hard to say is also one of the options, which people say, well, I don't even know what's going to happen in the next years. So we should definitely also focusing on the Erasmus program, making it more accessible so that people can actually start thinking about what's happening on the European level, right? Students who are on exchange vote less. 47.27% on abroad voted. Why? Well, most of these people actually have the problem. They don't have access to information on how to vote. They don't have the possibilities to actually vote abroad. Now, this is something we should definitely start advocating for so that we can also bring across that people abroad need the opinion, need to express their ideas. The Erasmus Plus alumni have higher interest and are more likely to vote in European elections than the average European. 71% of the people that participated in the Erasmus Plus program participated in the European elections.
This is almost 20% more than the people who voted in the last elections. And just a small point about this, because this is a very important part for everybody watching to understand that the very big problem about civic engagement at the moment for Erasmus students is that it's extremely hard for them to vote while they're on Erasmus. Even if they want to, they face tremendous challenges to vote from abroad. And this is something that all pro-Europeans should take into account. All of us who are in favor of active citizenship should take into account, thinking about the next parliamentary elections in 2024.
Indeed. And I guess, now with the increase of the budget of the Erasmus Plus program, I guess it's going to be even more people being engaged in becoming Erasmus alumni, more people even electing in the European Parliament elections, which we expect, of course, as an organization. As you can see here, voting is a duty as a European citizen. More than 7,000 people actually recognize it, right? And I think this is one of the major key findings we have here. People, after being abroad, again, understand the importance of being an active citizen. Here, the high importance for many of them, 79.74%, were currently abroad. Exchange alumni, even a higher number, 80.53%. And these are even higher numbers in the Eurobarometer. So we're actually reaching out to students, to the youth, and see how they're engaging in this. And I think this is also something that should not be disregarded in this case, because participating in an exchange program, in the Erasmus program, definitely supports the European concept and the European project that we're trying to build up here. So now students with an exchange experience wish for more rights as EU citizens and for more European civic education in schools. I think this is also something very important to bring across here when it comes to the aspect of higher education. How are we actually preparing our universities? How are we actually preparing our curricula to, bring across this mindset of being an EU student after your semester abroad or even before your semester abroad? And after these key findings, we also, as an organization, we recommended, in this case, to all the stakeholders involved or the interested parts on these key findings, most of them, being the European Parliament, which was a very key stakeholder in this case, being the European Commission, being also member states, which we also brought across, right? What is happening with their Erasmus students? And the first one, and in this case, the major one when it comes to the policy aspect, the EU member states and the European Commission must work together to provide more opportunities for EU citizens to learn about their rights and enhance their knowledge on the functioning of the European Union. This in order to guarantee that people are well aware of their surroundings and how to actually engage and be an active citizen, right? After gaining the experience, after gaining the knowledge, what is happening in Europe, what is happening in my host country, I will come back and I will demand from my countries, I want also more people to participate in this. I also want more people to engage more with this. So this is something that we have to think in a very cross-national level, all among Europe. National governments and parliaments must provide a stronger support to and recognize the role of civil society organizations as enablers of an active citizenship. Now, we're talking about the social aspect of Erasmus, right? We're also talking about the support here. Now, when it comes to support, we're trying to make the Erasmus program more accessible. We're trying to make it inclusive. We're trying to make it more effective for people that so far didn't have the opportunity to go abroad, so that we can bring them across these experiences that, well, I just want to refer again to Dragana, who kindly expressed her experience, how it was mind-changing, how it was life-changing to her, right? We also want the civil society organizations to be part of this. We're talking about a decentralized decision-making process. This should be also involving stakeholders, both the students and the higher education institutions, so that we can, at the end, create a program that might be, not only might be, will be even better for everybody involved in this year. Because the impact we're having after an Erasmus is not only for ourselves, it's also for our societies, right? Now, the third one that I want to share with you is that the European Parliament and responsible national authorities must enhance and increase the visibility of information on how to vote from abroad. This is something where ESN has been trying to work on in the last years, to also be a channel of where do I find information, how do I get the information, and how can I use this information that I'm actually working with. And for this year, we need also the European Parliament and national authorities to cooperate together with us and other institutions, other organizations, in order to make it as transparent as possible to the students and the youth that we're also working with, in order to, well, increase the numbers of the European elections. So basically, this was my part also.
Yes.
I guess, Juan,
Now,
I guess we had some questions, right?
Yeah, we have some time. Well, first of all, thanks everybody who stayed with us. Now we have some questions in the chat, but we encourage you to share any questions you might have with us. In general, as a general reflection, as you can see, Erasmus has a huge potential to be that enabler of active citizenship in the European Union, but we cannot take it for granted. Committed young people, civil society organizations, higher education institutions, we all have a role to play. The first thing you can do is to reach out to us, to the Erasmus Student Network. You can find us in all our communication channels to engage with us if you would like to become a volunteer, if you would like to participate in our activities, etc. And then to stay up to date of the many developments of the Erasmus Plus program. We have a couple of things from the chat that I will read now. The first is from Beatriz. Beatriz says that she thinks Erasmus could be enriched through a deeper formation of relationships between international and local students. She also thinks that Erasmus could focus more on politics, presenting the political structure of the hosting countries. Definitely, as you could see, Beatriz, this is basically the central part of our presentation and in general of our work in ESM. When it comes to the connection between international and local students, from the research that we have since many years ago, we know that many international students still find this idea of finding local friends as a huge challenge, but also that local students believe that there is kind of an invisible barrier to make friends within the international student community. So what I would like to do is to encourage everybody to also reach out to their international students in your university, in your city. And of course, one very easy way to do that is to join ESN activities. And the majority of them are open to anybody who can join. You can meet international people. You can have these engaging conversations about societal topics, or in general, just to make friends for everybody, which is also very important. When it comes to the political structure of the hosting countries, indeed, one thing we could do in the future is to explore how the preparation for the new Erasmus, for the mobility experience, can also include these more social and political dimensions, right? To learn more about the history of my new hosting country, to learn more about the politics, who is in charge, what are the main political developments. We really believe that this could enrich the mobility experience, and it will also enrich the knowledge that EU citizens have about other countries. And then Ruben also asked whether you can do an Erasmus also during your master's, which of course you can. You need to check with your university, because when it comes to Erasmus in higher education, is universities the ones that are applying for Erasmus grants, and then students apply to the university. So it will all depend on whether your university has any kind of Erasmus agreement with other universities. In the vast majority of cases, this is the case.
can I just add something to this? Actually, you can do it in your master's. You can also do it if you're pursuing, a research career. You can also do it in your PhD. You can also do an Erasmus internship. So, actually, you can either ask your officer for international relations in your university, or also approach, your ESN, and we can also guide you in this case when it comes to information.
Yeah, very good. And we also have another question from Jean. She asks whether people know how to differentiate Erasmus and Erasmus Plus, and she's a bit surprised because people mentioned scholarship in the part of Erasmus Plus, which she thought it was extra academic. Okay, so very important. As we say, the first Erasmus program started in 1987, and it was a program that was composed of university exchanges, so exchanges of students. At the moment, what we have is the Erasmus Plus program, which is the EU program for education, training, youth, and also other fields like sports and European studies. So when we talk about Erasmus Plus, we're talking about all these actions that are part of the Erasmus, let's say, of the Erasmus realm. But within that, you can find projects for higher education, projects for school education, projects for vocational education and training, projects for youth, projects for sports, etc. So Erasmus Plus offers countless opportunities to all kinds of people, even adult education. So it's not really about your age anymore. In the majority of the cases, you need to apply through an educational institution. So for instance, if you're a pupil that is taking part in school education, if your school is involved in an Erasmus Plus project, then you can participate. Most of the people knows about the higher education dimension of Erasmus, which are mainly Erasmus exchanges, going for a semester, for a year, for a number of months to another university, or also to do a trainship. You can also do a trainship in a company, in an NGO, etc. So, as said, Erasmus offers countless opportunities. As we discussed today, it's a fantastic program with even potential to make it better in the next few years. For that, we need everybody, we need all of you to engage with the program, to engage with civil society organizations that are involved in the program, and to continue exploring all the fantastic opportunities that we have. You can also, as I said before, check any of our social media channels, Erasmus Student Network, or our webpage, ESN.org. And I think that we have it. So thank you so much, Jose. It has been a great pleasure.
Yeah, also from my side, thank you. Thank you also for giving us the space to present our outcomes from the ESNsurvey and how we can actually provide also some recommendations from the student perspective. Definitely. Which is actually active engagement, active citizenship at the end. So thank you very much also to everybody here present. I hope it was very useful and very, very informative at the end. And well, looking forward to see you in our next ESN events, wherever you are.
Exactly. See you soon, and thank you everybody, and hope to meet you in Strasbourg, hopefully, many of you. Bye-bye.